great thrift store find. $5. Love the fabric. And lots of it. I'm going to turn this find into a summer cover-up. Coming up. Hi, Chanel here with another edition for your So Chanel fashion playlist, bringing you tips, tools, and techniques to help you with your fashion evolutions. So if you're new here, consider subscribing for your weekly dose of fashion inspiration. Well, I found this dress in a thrift store in Prescott, Arizona, and a few months ago, and I've just been wondering what to do with it. I don't want to ruin it because I really like the fabric, and it's a big piece of fabric. This is a long maxi dress. It has a border on the bottom, right there. It's like a navy border, and I love the top too. But that I'm just going to cut it off and save it because I could probably do something with this later. And but it has just a big square piece of fabric. There's no seams interrupting it, so I can do a lot with it. And I've had ideas of doing a yoga mat carrier, a skirt for me. I have chalk marks on here too, trying to figure out where I would put it, have it end because of the border, and a couple dress ideas I wanted to do. But I decided this weekend when I was at Sam's Club and I found this. I was there shopping for a barbecue, but I found this. There's always some cute stuff there. It's just a simple bathing suit cover-up. It's a square piece of fabric with a neckline and pretty small armholes actually, and trim. So basically square. Might change the neckline around. I'm thinking about changing the shape on this a little bit just to make it more fun. And but the problem is I don't have a trim yet, so I'm going to go to the fabric store and see what they have there, because that's kind of what's going to make it. And I'm kind of thinking yellow or orange or something. Just see what they have, and the fallback will be just white pom-poms. So if I can't find anything, I'm just going to do white pom-poms. So I'm going to get started. Okay, well, we have the dress off the form, and what I'm going to start with first is I'm just going to snip it where the end of this bodice is, and I'm actually going to tear it because I want to find the grain lines. Separate these. Looks like, because if I know where the grain line is on this, it'll help me in, wow, this was a little bit off right here. So this kind of cut right here, but I'm just going to cut it here. So this must be the cross grain. Length grains are always kind of stronger. This one's pretty, yeah, definitely has stretch in it. And this will give me a good base to start with when I open up the rest of it too. So cute little top. Definitely can use this later. I'll cut off all of this part here. It's got elastic in it, and who knows. But this part, see, we just have a square. I'm going to lay this on. Probably don't even have to cut the sides off. I think I'll turn it inside out and then get it all laid out right, and then put the shirt top over it and start with a square and maybe see what kind of shape I can do with this on the dress form. If I can, instead of doing just a square, maybe I can make it kind of asymmetrical. I thought it would be easier if I made a pattern just out of some, this is like a really thin muslin of some sort I found in my stash. And I'm just going to make a real quick pattern. I think it'd be easier for me to cut it out that way. What I've done was just folded this whole garment in quarters, basically. Found the fold right here on it. This is the back, this is the front, and then just lined it up on a folded piece of muslin here. And then I'm just going to kind of trace. I'm actually going to make this longer, so I'm going to, I think I'll line it up to the end of this board, because I can always shorten it. And then I'm going to just go to the end of the board here, and then see, I can see through this cutting board through this muslin, which is really great. And I'm just gonna kind of just do an estimate because this thing is so big. Just a square, basically. It doesn't really matter if I go a little bit bigger or not. I'm gonna get on the shoulder seam here. I'll move this down. You can see a little bit easier. So this is the shoulder seam. Just do a pencil mark where that shoulder seam is. And then the neck here is rounded, so I'll just trace here and get it rounded right there. And then this neckline here, how I like to mark these is on these cutting boards that are cardboard, you can just stick pins in here and get it alongside this cut here, and then lift it under and then pin, how do you say, mark where the pins are out here. And you can just pop all this off like that, remove it, and then you just have your square here. So this is my neckline, and this is the back neck. So what I'll do is cut it on the back neck and just have this here. The other thing good too is to put some pins through the fabric here, turn it this way, and then mark it so you have that mark there. But I'll probably, because I'll just be doing the cut, the back mark, cutting it, I won't be able to get that neckline mark in here without cutting it. Okay, there's that. And then you got to add seam allowance to that. The neckline is a little steep. I'm actually going to, when I tried this on, I'm actually going to make this neckline a little bit higher, because the lower it is, the more it slides off your shoulders and gets irritating. So if I make a 1/2 inch seam allowance, like for a little hem, because it just had a very small hem, and then right here, add seam allowance to the back neck. I like this ruler here because it's got 1/2 inch right here, and then the rest of them at 1/2 inch is really easy to find. And on this kind of garment, I'll probably just do a quick little 1/2 inch seam allowance. And then mark it here, and then your 1/2 inch all along here. And that armhole too, it's pretty small. I'm gonna probably make that a little bit bigger too. So see, it's very small right here. So I'm gonna open it up to here. Got the privilege of being able to just do wherever you want it. So I think right here. So I'll make a notch right here of where to open it up. And then just add a 1/2 inch to the rest of this. And then cut it out, and then that's your pattern. This is very simple. When you get into other shapes, that's when you get into problems. And I'll cut it out, and it'll just be one big square with a little scoop, and that's it. Okay, so I got our pattern piece done. It's just a big square with the neckline, a back neckline in it, and a front neckline drawn in. I'll just transfer that to the fabric so I don't have to make two separate patterns just for that neckline in here. It's basically just a big square. Got a couple notches here for where this armhole's going to start, and then where the slit's going to start right here, and that's that. I'm going to head off to the fabric store to see what kind of fun trim I can find. Figured I need about 2.5 yards to be safe. Probably get 3.5 yards just to make sure, and hopefully I find a punchy color to go with this bathing suit cover up. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, here I am at Joann's. Gotta go in to find my trim. This is the only fabric store we have in this little town, little big town. And we have Walmart and Hobby Lobby, and that's about it. So hopefully they have my trim. Okay, I've arrived in the trim department, and they just have one wall of trims and ribbons. They don't have a big choice here. But, looked through here and there's not a lot of choices. So looks like I'm gonna have to go to that puffball thing. And I'll show you what that looks like. So we're gonna come over here, and they got a big array collection of the PomPom balls, I think they're called. And I brought a swatch of the fabric here, just because I'm really glad I did. I thought it would just be easy to pick, but once you get here, it's a different story. So I'm liking the yellow the most. I think it's bright and cheery because it is a bathing suit cover-up, and you're going to be outside. This was kind of my second choice because of a little bit, I think the blue and the yellow, the oceany. Red's pretty, but a little dark, and too multi-tune pretty. Still, just wanted to be a little bit pop more. But then I found this other trim, and it's these things that I've been seeing scrunchies made out of lately, and I thought this was pretty. It's kind of on a piping. There's a netting in here that you put in the seam right here, and then these will flop out. So I think I'm gonna try that. It feels a little oceany. I thought it'd be cute for an ocean trip. On a cruise, kind of has that ocean feeling. And it's $8 a yard. I have a coupon for 50% off trims, and so it's only $4 a yard, and I'm going to get 3 yards and hopefully have enough. So I think I'll get that one, and I'm going to go with this yellow too to see what I like when I actually get it done, because I will probably make more of these this summer, and can always use these trims. This trim's, the puff balls are only $4 a yard, so with a coupon it's $2 a yard. So it won't hurt to get both. So those are my choices. 2 are my choices. I think I'll go with that. I'll see you back at the studio. Okay, to get started with this project, I've pressed the fabric and I laid it out on my cutting board, and it is not exactly square, meaning this was the hem, the border was the hem, and it's a little bit wider than where it was connected at the waist right here. Not a big deal, it's just a probably about an inch or 2 off, narrower right at the top part. So that means I can't use my full width of the pattern that I drafted, and so glad I drafted a pattern, makes it much easier. But I'm going to use that shoulder or that border there as my shoulder line, and then just put the pattern down here, make it a lot easier. Also, I've put pins in where the center of this is, so when I lay my pattern out, I'll know exactly where the center is. Okay, well, I have the pattern laid out on the fabric. Taking up pretty much all of it. And I'll show you what I did here. I actually put this shoulder line on the border, and I think it'll be cuter, a little bit of border and then a print. So I just folded it up and made that as balanced as I could there. Then the pattern is fuller than the fabric itself, so I just folded that in, so now the hem will just be a little bit narrower. And I'm just going to take this right to the end. I pressed this out and put a crease in here on the sides, and there's actually a seam running down this part, so I'm going to make sure that goes in the back of the tunic, because there'll be a seam here and then a seam here. This will have the trim in it, but you won't even see it. It'll just mold into the fabric print. Also, I wanted to make sure this was on the center, so I've put pins. There's like pins underneath here, and I just aligned them to the center of my pattern so that at least I get this pretty well balanced. And I'm going to cut out 2 backs, and then when I get the back, then I'll transfer this neckline marking on the front, because it's lower in a V shape. I'll transfer that to the front, and then I'll just be 2 simple square pieces of fabric, and then we can start sewing. Okay, so I've got it cut out, and then now I've got to cut this front neckline. So I just cut 2 backs, and now I wanted to put the front, use it on the other side because there's no seam in there. So what I've done is put pins through the board, and then I'll flip it up here and just mark that neckline, and then turn it over and draw it so that I get that front neckline. Just put little chalk marks on there, and you can see I have now chalk marks, and I connect the dots, and that was on the cutting line because there's a neckline, and then I added the seam allowance. So I'll just finish that up and then cut just one, because this is a double layer. Just cut one front, and then sew the shoulder seams together. So if you want to make sure you really get this even, this is the front, you could fold it in half and make sure everything is balanced. Shoulder seam, everything's lined up nice and straight, and then you can cut your neckline right there, just like that, and then you have it even. A lot of times with fabrics, you just fold things in half, and then you get stuff even if it's on the center. So there's your front. So I got my shoulders here, then the front, and now I'll sew the shoulder seams together, put it on the dress form, and then figure out which trim I want to use. Okay, well, I got the shoulder seams put in. Looks great on this border. That's really a fun little added feature to this. On the shoulder seams, because they don't go across square, they always have like a little bit of a slant, which means the grain kind of makes it twisted a little bit. So you can, if you put twill tape in the seam allowance right here, you can see I just sewed it right underneath my seam allowance there. That tends to hold it a lot more secure, and then you don't have the rippling shoulder seams like that. So you've probably seen that in a lot of clothes where they have, if you look underneath it, there's a little slight twill tape in there. So now I'm going to put this on the dress form and see how it looks. That. Got it pretty centered. And then the back looks like that. It looks like a big caftan. I've put notches on the sides where my armhole's going to go, and then on where the slit's going to go. So now I just have to decide what trim to use. I bought that aqua version. This looks kind of hard to sew in. Actually, it's easy to sew in, but you have to make sure these little things are onto the side the whole time. So that would look like that. I don't love it as much now. I think I'm going to keep this for to do another one. Actually, I just got to buy fabric and make these. They're pretty quick. But I like this yellow one. I think it pops a little bit more, and it's fun and kind of eye-catching. So I think I'm going to do the yellow. And then I realized when I was at the fabric store, or actually right after I left, that I didn't get bias tape. So bias tape is what I'm going to use to cover the ends of this when it goes in the seam allowance here. And also, real important, I'm going to use bias tape on the neckline edge to finish the edge. So I don't have the right colors, but I think I'm going to just put a lot of different colors in here. And you'll kind of see it in the underneath, not too much. But my neck edge, too, I don't have the right color here. So I do have a black, but I might just want to use gray and just kind of put different colors in here. And you won't really see it from the front, but if it kind of twists a little bit, you'll see a little bit of color. I mean, I could even use, put the gold in there, too. Might be kind of cool. I might do that. I haven't decided. I don't think I have enough gold for actually the whole thing, so I'm going to mishmash this together. And so I'm going to get started on that, and then I'll show you how that comes out. Okay, so to get this figured out, I just laid the pom-poms out, kind of figuring out how I'm going to attack this. And also I need to leave a space here. This is where it gets connected on the side seams. So there's only one layer in there, because this is the side slit right here, and this is the armhole here, and then it goes into the whole thing here, because when this gets connected to the side, it'll just be one layer, and it'll just get connected to this side here. So what I've done is I added the bias tape to the trim edge of the pom-pom, and I'm going to top stitch close to the edge here, and then my plan is to trim out this blue and then roll it over this way and then top stitch it on top of the fabric itself. So that's my plan of attack. I hope it works. So this is what it looks like in the machine. You've got to use a zipper foot and try to get close to the edge. These little balls, I've almost hit my fingers a few times. It's a little tricky to get in there, but just get as close as you can. And just have to top stitch it. There's that. So you also have to use a zipper foot. So that really helps this. Now I'm going to trim this fabric and roll it in and top stitch it. See, it's a little bit close here, but I can control that in my top stitch. So that's how that looks. All right, well, I got all the yellow balls sewed on. Those were fun. I don't think I've ever sewn on these pom-pom balls before, and they were kind of getting in the way. You definitely have to use a zipper foot to get around them, and you wouldn't think so, but they do. So I put bias tape under here. This side I sewed with navy thread, so this side I ended up doing it right and sewing with gold thread on there. So make sure your bobbin thread is equal to the color there, and I think it'll turn out a little bit better. But I left a space in this area here. This is on the back of my shirt. I can tell because it's that seam from the old dress right here. And that's where I'm going to connect it at the sides. So what I'm going to do is just, so actually this is the rest of it all right here. It's just the continuous balls here, and then it goes over the shoulder, and then it stops here. So what I'll do next is just find the shoulder seam, and then I'm going to just fold that, and then where the pom-poms stop, I'm going to pin it there, and then stitch the rest of the way. This will be the side seam, and it's pretty short, just where it's going to connect between the armhole and the side slit. And then where the pom-poms pick back up, there'll be a side slit right here. Also, I ran out of pom-poms. I got 3.5 yards. It turns out I needed closer to 4.5 yards to finish this. I must have measured it wrong somehow. It just seemed like a lot. So now I'm just going to hem it right here. And if I'm just anxious to get it done, and I think this is going to be such a great gift right here. I'm looking at this going, I think people are going to love this. I think I've already had some students see this, and they're like, I want one, I want one. Actually, one of my 8-year-old's students is, she's got to make one for her mom now. So, but I think what I'll do is make a pattern for this and make it available for you. Give you my email address, and you can email me, and I'll send you the pattern. It's just that square piece, but at least it's one step that'll be easier. So I'm going to go ahead and sew this up and finish it. The other thing I need to finish too is the neckline. I used single fold bias tape just to finish off that neckline. I just sewed it close to the edge here, and then I pressed it over. I press a lot of things because I think it makes everything look so much more professional. And I pressed it here, and then I pressed it that way, and then I'm just going to top stitch alongside that. So you want to use bias tape because it has that curve to it. It helps it curve around, and it's really the only nice way to do these hems, unless you're really good at those tiny, tiny hems, which I am not. So I'm going to top stitch that, and then stitch my side seams and do my hem, and then this thing is done. And warm weather is here, and it should be good to go to wear in a second. Okay, we have our swimsuit cover-up done. was a fun project. Never knew what to do with all those pom-pom balls I saw in the trim department, but this is a great idea. So, really great pop of color. Pom-poms are a little hard to sew and work with, but it can be done. So this was this makes a great gift. Anybody can wear these cover-ups. You can even wear this over just a tank top with some jeans as a top. This is pretty fun and cute, you know, on those days when you overeat or you go into a barbecue and you're going to eat a lot. This was easy and fun, and I ran out of the pom-poms on the bottom, and I think I actually like it better because I can imagine wearing these here and them hitting your leg, so I think that worked out really good. I'm going to make a pattern available for you. I'll work it up onto a PDF and have it for you, so just email me at Chanel@futurefashiondesigners.com, and then I will email it over to you, so that way you don't have to draft one out. It's pretty much a square. Pretty simple, but it'll have the neckline on it, and then the notches and stuff, make it one step a little bit easier. So let us know if you have any swimsuit cover-ups that you have that are original and easy to make and a little different, and we'd love to check them out and see if we can upcycle anything into another swimsuit cover-up. They're pretty fun to make and easy and good for gifts, and that was a fun project. So, until next time, we will see you later.